And we finish off with, I thought it was one of the games of the round, actually, if not the game around. Bulldogs 10 going down to the Broncos 16. Barney, some stats, and then I'll let Gump have the floor for his side.
Yeah, so we had 2 tries to 3, 1 out of 2 conversions for the Dogs, 2 out of 3 for the Broncos. A missed penalty goal. We had 75% completion from both sides even. 31 out of 41 sets, played 27 out of 36. 500 plus run meters and 110 post-contact meters for the Dogs over the Broncos. 6 line breaks to 3, 38 tackle busts to 29, 20 offloads to 2, 3 forced dropouts to 0. Well, that's a shutout for most teams, but we move on. 0 40-20s, 283 tackles played, 383, 1 ruck infringement from both teams, 0 inside the 10s, 3 penalties conceded by the Dogs, 6 conceded by the Broncos, 12 errors to 9. Jeremy Marshall-King made 35 tackles, Ricky made 50, Dufty with 203 run meters, and Herbie Farnsworth with 262 run meters. Burton made 14 tackles, missed 4. Staggs made 21 and missed 6, and Ockenball made 3 and missed 3.
And Gumpy, how good was Corey Waddell?
Actually, I potted him last week. He had a very good game this week. But all of the we spoke about mongrel for the Tigers. They probably need a bit what both these teams have got, because they ripped and teared in the middle. I know that absolutely. There was TPJ sort of started that off, but there was some scores to settle, I think. But all of the forwards for the Bulldogs and the Broncos, all stood up. I think the Bulldogs probably deserved to win the game, and there were some decisions that didn't go their way, but they're probably their own worst enemy. They still lack a bit of polish in terms of getting the ball over the line. Burton was held up over the line at an important stage and probably should have got the ball down. It was good defence by the Broncos to hold him up. There was a few other opportunities that the Bulldogs had, even the cover up from Albert Kelly on the last play. You saw him run from the other side of the field to get to that. That's an effort in the 80th minute when both teams were gassed. The
Stags one was massive. To hold him up, he was not even in the frame. Not in the frame when he made that break.
Albert Kelly's saved the game there, because the Bulldogs score. Definitely, like, if Kelly wasn't there were 3 Bulldogs players there. They only had to pick up the ball and probably run around under the posts, and we get to golden point. Look, I'm pleased with the effort of the Bulldogs. As I've said before, if they get, like, Jake Averillo is a good kid, he's a good player, but he's not a 7. I think they get a 7 and they don't play Ockenbaugh, then look, and Ockenbaugh is a big body and probably may play first grade at some point down the track. But every time the ball goes to that side of the field, he runs in. Every time. The first try, when Albert Kelly kicked to Oates, like, fair dinkum, he was inside the centre. If he stood there and put his arms up, he's 8 foot tall, he would have caught it. The kick didn't go any higher than 6 foot.
Absolutely.
To get over him. Like, if he's in position, then they don't score that try. He got gassed by Farnworth as well on the outside. It's just, and Farnworth's not the fastest player in the comp by any means, but, I'm happy but unhappy they didn't get the 2 points. Would have been nice, you have at least give us a couple of weeks where they're in the 8 and unbeaten and sort of at the top of the comp and
before it all unravels.
Something to sort of cheer about, because the next 4 or 5 weeks they're playing teams that are looking like they're probably going to be the better teams in the comp. So hopefully maybe Manly and South aren't going that good, and may Jag wins against those teams, or at least good performances. But look, I thought it was Jeremy Marshall-King's best game for the club in terms of how he went. Paul Vaughan was really good this week, didn't make errors. TPJ was good. Look, anybody that thinks Matt Burton's not a quality footballer is not watching the same game as me. Yeah, Matt Burton, absolutely. Even with those kicks, he's
not seen
ahead of the Bulldogs team. I know that Dag, I think you intimated earlier that you probably going to mention Addo Carr and just the enthusiasm that he brings and the talk and the system that he comes out of, and he's a winner. And you can see that in the way that he goes about what's going on. Like, other than Ockenbaugh, I don't think the Bulldogs had a bad player, and I don't know the Broncos had a bad player either in sort of looking through. Probably Staggs is underwhelming. It is probably him and Payne Haas are the two stars of the Broncos team, and I don't think Staggs in either game this year's really fired a shot. He didn't have to do anything to score that try. All he had to do was put it down. He dropped it. Adam Reynolds was good in his first game for the Broncos. You know what you're getting with Reynolds. Maybe Albert Kelly is the answer. At
least he's fit. He's fit and firing.
Yeah, and he put it over the kick to score the try. He saved, probably saved the game in the end. 3-1 would be tough because I think they were all very even. But, it was a good game. It was a good game to watch. The closeness of the scores made it good. The quality of the footy sort of made it good. Look, if you were a casual observer of rugby league and you watched that, you would have thought it was two pretty decent teams playing each other. They both looked like that if they played like that, they wouldn't be out of place in 7th or 8th spot.
It felt to me, the intensity felt to me watching it, slothing my hammock before the Japanese encephalitis kicked in, had to come inside, was this felt like an almost finals clash intensity. It was a higher tempo game, really enjoyable footy, good footy, by and large smart footy. It was just two good teams playing good footy.
This wasn't clinical.
It wasn't clinical, but they'll try. The effort was there, and I would. And you mentioned before, Gump, Bulldogs playing South and Manly next 2 weeks. I'd be wary of Souths, but they'll towel Manly if they turn up and play. Like, they'll towel Manly if they turn up and play this week.
I'll tell you should get on, Daggy, because at the moment one team's $1.25 and another team's $4.
I'll be having some. Is that dead set?
Yep.
This week?
Yep. Manly are $1.25. The Bulldogs are $3.80 or $4.
I'll take $4 any day of the week, and I'll take it with the Lions, so I'll get $5 head to head. I can't wait, because they will smash Manly if they play this, because Manly are not in the same postcode the way they're going. Matt Burton, I haven't seen as good a bomb kicking as Benji Master used to do, the spiral torps that used to, obviously Nathan, apart from Nathan Cleary, covered. Apart from Nathan Cleary, but those spiral torps, Benji at his best, but incredible, like, just great to watch. Had them in all sorts. Dufty's still a bit left to rightish. He's still a bit of a floater, but that's what he is. What he is. That's what he is. But I can't knock anyone else in this team. Paul Vaughan was good. Let's look down the lineup. They were all good. Josh Jackson's actually had a bit of fresh legs in him with this team around him, because he's actually passing a bit more and
he's trying to do a bit of a Murray.
He's trying to do that. I was impressed. They looked fitness wise, intensity wise, like a top 8 team, as did Brisbane, which I'll get to. And a Brisbane fullback was sensational. Palacia was great. Haas is obviously Payne Haas. Wow. I thought Palacia had more metres now.
See your Manafangai from the Bulldogs. Realistically, the bloke played 16 minutes, had one hit up for 6 metres or whatever it was. Like, you're a front rower, mate. Your job's to, 16 minutes, should be having 4 or 5 hit ups at least.
I want to wrap Carrigan again. Carrigan
was tackles.
I thought Carrigan's touches and Carrigan's defence was outstanding.
Oh, absolutely.
Jordan Ricky will be something in time. His runs were great. His stats don't look great, but his runs were very good. And Capel being there, apparently he ran 30 metres, but he was better than that, I thought.
That's just a clean-up work from Capel.
They have a very nice pack now. Surely Staggs comes good and adds something there. Reynolds played in a dinner suit, made some really good tackles, made a try-saving tackle there at one point where he wrapped up, was it Braden Burns out on the outside there? Corey Oates looked like a flashback to his former self. So both teams, I am excited. Both teams, because there's so I think there is our Facebook page is being bombarded, probably a DDS. I think there's a lot to take this game for both teams, and they will beat a lot of the geeks that we've just spent a lot of time talking about. And I think, Gumpy, you can be confident you're looking at a 7, 8, 9 spot for Dogs, and I think Broncos, I would put money on to make the 8 now. Ollie.
Well, I still hope the Bulldogs don't make the 8. But yeah, for me, Jordan Ricky in particular, I'm not saying he was the best player on the field. There's multiple people you can pick from, but his effort, you spoke about him running, but defensively, he put in a lot of work. Did he get something like 40, 50 tackles? I thought the work that he was doing in defense,
50 tackles.
Yeah, like a lot of his work in defense is what kept the Bulldogs out, and part of the reason why Brisbane won the game. I thought, I was really impressed by the effort from him and that work he was putting in. Herbie as well, obviously, I know he wasn't up against the best opposition, but he looked really good, as did Corey Oates. They both ran for, I don't know how many. I know Herbie was up over 200 meters, but it seemed like Oates was running a fair bit there as well. So that's good to see from Brisbane. I also thought Haas put in it was weird.
Oates cleared 200 and Selwyn did not much else.
Yeah. But Payne Haas put in a Payne Haas performance, but he wasn't the man of the clear-cut man of the match for once. And I think that's honestly a big positive for Brisbane, because he could still put in these monumental efforts, although this week probably wasn't as big as his best, but still he was there. He was involved. He put in, a Payne Haas performance, but Brisbane was still, as a team, not being carried by him. I think, at least for them, that's huge.
I've still got him down for 2 points, realistically. Bloke made 16 hit-ups, 30-odd tackles. Only missed one, I think, offloads and tackle busts. And he's just an absolute machine. If they leave him on for 80 minutes every week, he'd be probably top of the stats in just about every position on the field by the time by the time the season ended. But yeah, he's an absolute superstar, Payne Haas. You mentioned Ricky. I've had some pretty good raps on that guy for ever since he even started in his debut, realistically. And he's got a bit of footwork too, so don't be surprised if he starts carving a few teams open on the edges there. The fact that he made 50 tackles and his spot man was TPJ, who also had a really strong game in this one, and he was the guy who had to mark Davida Pangai with Averillo with Burton on his inside. So did a lot of work, made sure that they kept Tavita Pangai as quiet as they possibly could. The Dogs probably realistically should have won. The one thing I still don't understand out of the Bulldogs, that you don't have that sweep play out the back where most teams do. It goes from Averillo to Burton. It gets there slow. Burton then either has to kick in behind the line or dig in and try and find a hole for somebody else. Why aren't you just lining up Hetherington, Tavita Pangai Jr., the blokes on the other side, and just running straight, hard lines, putting a bloke on the inside and the outside of your ball players, and just running directly as hard as you possibly can straight at the line? Because that's the Bulldogs go for the rest of the year. They just have to run harder and tackle harder than the opposition team, because they don't have the finesse to put points on when they're struggling.
No.
So just man up and just run over the top of people, because they've got blokes in that team that can do it.
Yeah, they're just not a team that when they get momentum, score 3 or 4 tries like most other teams in the comp. Like most other teams in the comp, when they've got that momentum that goes their way, they put 18 or 20 points on. The Bulldogs don't.
So say 12 is a good result. How do we then own them again and start again?
They've got to
Put
learn.
your big boys on either side of your ball players and just run those straight lines. And if it's, most of the time you give it to them and they get a quick play of the ball and you work off the back of that. Or the time that you see something on the outside, you play to your outsides and you probably score points out there as well. But Ockenball realistically lost you this game. I think there was 2 of the Broncos tries came directly from Ockenball just doing stupid stuff, coming off his wing, dropping, as you mentioned, not putting his hands up and contesting a ball that he realistically should have pulled down and probably ran 50 metres the other direction. But
that's the concern, Daggy, I guess, with you wanting to back the Bulldogs at $4. If Ockenball plays against Manly,
Saab might score 5 tries. Yeah.
And Turbo runs it at that side of the field, and Ockenball keeps running in.
Yeah.
He's not the smart, sharpest
Well,
tool.
Oh,
And it's, we've talked about the Melbourne
inside,
system.
outside.
You have Lumi sitting there who has performed at that level in fine
Generally
situation
stays on
for
his
him.
wing.
And is it, yeah.
Similar size bloke as well. So if you're worried about missing out on that big body out on the wing, well,
It'll
he's
be-
worth a go. You can't do any worse at the moment.
I feel like the Spruik's keeping Okabora in a team, and that's it.
Well, I think
Well,
It's a
Lumi's
4-year-old
I
Spruik.
think Lumi's offering you more.
I agree.
A
Because he's
first
a
grader
jumper.
until he goes
He-
into the back row.
He's fast. Lumi's a jumper, and can defend. So
Yeah, I'd put Ockenball back to reserve grade and
go
harden
back.
him up and
Kilos
get
on
him
him and put him in at 12 or 11 or
They've
17
got their back
or
row
whatever.
covered. They got their back row covered. I'd leave him out at this point. Like last week, you couldn't not have Waddell or Hetherington or TPJ on an edge, and Fatala Mariner when he comes back, and Blake's like that. I think that they're covered in that area.
You know what it is?
You know
what it
what?
is?
And
It's the fact they've stood by a bloke for 3 years through what he went through, and they feel obliged to play him.
And moving forward, even Barney for the back row, they've got Villy Kickout coming next year, so
Yeah.
he's not going to. He's
Offload him
not going
to
to
the
be in the
Tigers.
team before Villy Kickout. So I'd cut my losses and probably just play him in
Get
Reggie.
rid of him. And not even that, because then you've got, off this performance, Marshall King's not going to be starting 9 next year. So is he a 14? You've
Probably.
only got so many spots.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So you probably they got to cut their losses now and say, even if there's a team that wants a winger or someone like that now, and say, well, maybe go and play for them. Ockenball, we don't have a spot for you. That's
probably in England.
England's
I can't think of
There's
any
no
other
team that would want him right now.
hey, well,
Yeah,
I'd have him on the wing before Ken Mamalo, to be
That is
honest.
true. That is true. All right, 3, 2, 1. Anything else to add to this this chat before we get on with it?
Well, Max
Final
King
thoughts on
and Luke Thompson probably should be starting front row for the Dogs.
Maxi
to be honest.
King, maximum power.
Can you talk us
Put
through
Vaughan
Max?
back to the bench and Waddell back to the bench and just get Max King and Luke Thompson out there.
Talk us
and
through
go,
Max King.
We're going to wind you up for 50 minutes and just go as hard as you possibly can. He doesn't take a backward step, as I mentioned before, for the Tigers, mate. He is just an absolute mongrel. You give him the ball, he flies off the back fence. If someone comes near him, he tries to put him on their ass. He doesn't
Just for an offload. Like
doesn't try to grab him and hold him and wrestle with him. He just tries to smack him onto their back. Like, mate, fuck. I know he didn't play a lot of time at the Titans, but he looks like he's a genuine tough front rower and
in the
deserves a
Storm
spot.
system as well.
Nothing else?
So I had Herbie for 3 just because he,
Yeah.
scored a try he probably shouldn't have and ran a lot of meters and made a couple of blokes look silly. I had Haas with 2 points, and then I had either Burton or TPJ for the 1.
I'll give Burton the 1. Gump, you
yeah, look,
take
probably
your glasses off there, you rose one.
it's probably about right in terms of Herbie and Payne. I'd probably go Payne Haas 3 because I think
I actually would have given Payne 3 as well, but because I thought but he is Payne House, so go Herbie 3, Payne 2, and Burton 1.